Good afternoon, this is Sheldon Betteridge and welcome to Sheldopedia. On today's show, we're going to talk about the government's handling of the second COVID-19 for AstraZeneca for small group people as the government's mostly focused on the Pfizer vaccine and the other vaccination like other vaccine providers that some desperate eager like a tense Coromandel messenger goody want to get vaccinated under the Novavax vaccine. And I'm gonna play Peppers by Fakura on Sheldopedia on Arrow event.
No me importa lo que de mí se diga, vive usted su vida, que yo vivo la mía. Que solo es una, disfruta el momento, que el tiempo se acaba y para atrás no viera. Bebiendo, fumando y jodiendo, sigo vacilando de party todos los días. Y síguelo.
Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca. Pepa y agua para la seca. Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca.
Desacatado. Empatillao.
Sube la mano y la botella para arriba. Siempre la móvil la tenemos prendida. Vengo a mandarla hasta que se haga de día. Sigo rulito que es la mía. Salió el sol, un gol. Prime la boca y el alcohol. Impréndelo, un gol. Esto se salió de control. Y síguelo.
Pepa y agua para la seca. Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca.
Desacatado.
Pepa y agua para la seca. Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca.
Empatillao.
No me importa lo que de mí se diga, vive usted su vida, que yo vivo la mía. Que solo es una, disfruta el momento, que el tiempo se acaba y para atrás no viera. Bebiendo, fumando y jodiendo, sigo vacilando de party todos los días. Y síguelo.
Pepa y agua para la seca. Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca. Pepa y agua para la seca. Todo el mundo en patilla en la discoteca.
Desacatado. Empatillao.
First people's by Faruko on Sheldopedia on LFM. The government will for AstraZeneca vaccines for small group of people while keeping the vaccine program mostly focused on Pfizer. The AstraZeneca vaccine will be available from late October. Pfizer AHD will over who are medically unavailable to give a Pfizer vaccine. A group of measure places more than 100 or 200 people. It will also be available for those who prefer the vaccine user mRNA technology, which also requires them to have a vaccine. The measure is expected that a small number of people will have this vaccine. That's what I have to say.
Kia ora koutou. When was the last time you saw one of these? Probably not since high school, right? It's a strand of DNA, the genetic code found in almost every cell in your body, containing the unique markers that make you, you. Recently, I've heard a pretty scary rumour doing the rounds, a claim that COVID-19 vaccines actually alter your DNA. So, is it true? Well, the vaccines created by Pfizer and Moderna are using brand new technology called messenger RNA, or mRNA. After being injected, the vaccine delivers a message to your cells saying, hey, there's an enemy coming, here's what it looks like. Your immune system responds, creating antibodies to protect you. And that means if you catch the real virus at a later date, your body will be ready to fight back. And here's the important part. The vaccine never enters the nucleus of your cells. That is where your DNA lives. What's more, as soon as your cells are done with the vaccine, they destroy it. It does not stick around in your body. These vaccines are new, which makes them seem risky, but scientists have been working on this technology for more than a decade. So there you have it. If you were worried about the vaccine changing your DNA, fear not. You are you, and you're here to stay. The whole truth about the COVID vaccine is a series from Stuff, made in partnership with
say COVID-19 vaccines do not and never alter your DNA. Yeah. Next song I'll be playing for is it is it is one right now with First Line in the Weekend.
Said you love me, but I don't care. That I broke my hand on the same one that you told me that if I you think it's so easy, fucking with my feelings. I got one coming over, one right now, one right now. I got one coming over, one right now.
Said you wanna have my babies, I fucked you so good, you should pay me. Don't call me baby when you did me so wrong. in my rose. But you wouldn't know that. You should call me dad, baby, a man. But you dropped the bad, baby, truth is, maybe one's just not enough. You say you love me, but I don't care. That I roll my hand on the same one that you told me that he fucked you. You think it's so easy, fucking with my feelings. I got one coming over your one right now. One right now. I got one coming over your one right now. I got one coming over your one right now. You're a stain in my legacy. We can't be friends, can't be family. You probably fuck with my enemies. I can't let you be next to me, yeah. You belong to the world now, so just leave me alone now. We're not in touch no more. You say you love me, but I don't care. That I broke my hand on the same one that you told me that he fucked you. You think it's so easy, fucking with my feelings. I got one coming over your one right now. One right now. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Fucking with my feelings. I got one coming over your one right now. Yeah, oh yeah. I got one coming over your one right now. I got one coming over your one right now.
That was Wairarapa by for Weekend and Post Malone on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. The National Party say schools in lockdown areas should reopen immediately as the risk of more learning to be being delayed was higher than the risk of the outbreak. Education spokesperson Paul Goldsmith wants to force every school to punch transit data and spend at least 2 hours on maths and literacy a day. A risk of not going back to school if a disengagement of drifting foes are greater than the risks of return, Goldsmith said. In 2022, Goldsmith said schools would need to focus on catching children up who have missed schooling across 2020 and 2021. First of what Paul Goldsmith details national focus will help issues catch up after the Delta outbreak closed schools. And first Labour cover could not even open a school enough risk of children being more delay in learning. Now, so backlash against the Australian government started to wane off a bit. Here you go.
And, I want you to imagine the, tens of thousands of kids in Auckland right now, an 8-year-old in a crowded house with younger siblings running around, the TV on. They don't have access to a laptop like tens of thousands don't. They might have got some resources from the school a couple of weeks ago. Can you imagine what education is actually happening in that home? Not much. Or if you think of a 13-year-old with no siblings in an apartment, no interaction with their friends for months now, and the impact that that's having on their lives. And so what's happening in Auckland education today is a tragedy. A good education is the most powerful gift we can give all New Zealanders, no matter what their background, and that gift is being taken away right now. And so where do we start to turn things around? We've got to start by limiting the damage. Schools need to reopen. They should have been reopened at the start of term. They should be reopened now. A lot of people worry about returning to school, but our strong view is that the risks, whatever you do, and the risks of not going back to school, the disengagement, the drifting, the lack of an education are greater than the risks of returning. So we need to reopen schools so at least years 1 to 10 can have nearly a month of school before the end of the year, so that they can reconnect, get re-inspired and start learning. Once they're back at school, 2022 has to be a real focus on catching up for lost ground. And we've got a very simple plan, and in the spirit of bipartisanship we're trying to offer the government some suggestions because they don't seem to have clear thinking here. The starting point, of course, if you want to catch up for lost ground, is the kids have to be at school. And we know we've got a national crisis in terms of truancy. On a good day, only 3 out of 5 are attending regularly. So we have to have an absolute focus at the start of next year of getting the kids back to school. A good place to start is to ensure that schools publish the data regularly. It's some flashing lights on the website. Here's our attendance, so that the community can be focused on making sure the kids are at school. We have to have a no excuses culture when it comes to attendance. Secondly, we need to focus on enabling schools to help the kids catch up. So we're suggesting a one-off payment to schools of up to $400 per pupil for them to spend how they see fit on either extra teacher aides, counsellors, tutorials, catch-up classes, because we know we've lost a lot of ground over the last few months, and we think of all the things that have been spent over the last little while, investing in helping schools get those kids back on track would make a real difference. Secondly, we need to concentrate on the basics. Right now, this government's pushing on with very substantial curriculum review, NCEA reviews. We think we should put that on hold for a little bit and concentrate on the task at hand, which is helping kids catch up. Thirdly, we agree with the government's maths advisors that an hour of maths a day is a good place to start, and that's something we can do straight away from the start of 2022. Most parents would be surprised to learn that that doesn't happen, but it isn't universal across our system. Meantime, the government's got no robust plan to measure how far students have fallen behind and how we're going to make up for lost time. And they have a long-time ideological aversion to measuring progress during the year. Don't ask, don't tell seems to be our approach when it comes to education progress. And 2022 is the year we've got to change that. So we think it's important when kids go back next year. We have excellent assessment tools available. eASTL is one that we've identified that half the schools use at the moment. All of them should be encouraged to use it so that they can take stock of where kids have got to and have a plan over the year to make sure that they're progressing and catching up. The final point, and this is a simple plan, is recognising that this massive disruption that we've seen over the last few months, particularly in Auckland, has led to many innovations across the sector. And I do want to pay tribute to the many principals and teachers who have worked hard to come up with new ways to inspire and connect with their students. And it would be a pity if we went back once the dust had settled and just went back to exactly how things were in 2019. So I do think we should have a purposeful and structured conversation about what are the innovations that we've learnt through this lockdown and what can actually be carried through in order for New Zealanders to get a better education, because fundamentally there's no greater gift that we can offer our kids.
To do this, Nature wanted every school to target the stock treasury and public currency data online. As the it was intended to change schools with a high transfer rate schools to seat, yes, and I'm saying let's make it clear to communities what are actually having at school. The whole point is the way schools are structured with local school was a representative of our community. You need to have strong focus to the community on issues they need to confront. Gossamer was not worried about schools having an incentive not to take children that might up their truancy rate. So instead they will make an incentive to make sure kids came to school. He wants the government to provide a $400 per pupil to schools on speeding on a catch-up initiatives for 2022. And the party wants more compulsory assessment on reading, writing, maths, at least 2 hours of literacy, mathematics, and teacher a day through years 1 to 10. Gossip also wants the government to immediately pause the curriculum overhaul for 2 years. I agree overhaul might result in too many teacher-only days. By year 8, more than half of New South Wales were performing below expectation in the maths and English and science, according to a national monetary study of student achievement. Goldsmith said. Honorary can never replicate the full benefits of education that come and teaching in school in person. With week by week strategy, the government has no budgetary attached down to children's learning. Labour got rid of a compulsory national standards assessments for primary school when elected. Applause of teachers' unions who said standards is not lifted achievement. National standards are narrow the curriculum, put undue pressure on children, increase teacher workload, and would ever accurate for a measure of a child's progress. NCAA President Linda Stewart said at the time. This is what the leader of the opposition said. About schools, in her opinion.
Well, good. Thank you for coming or joining us on Facebook. Over the last few months, the National Party has released a lot of well thought through and timely policy, and we're glad the government is now picking up many of our proposals, although the lack of urgency remains a concern. In opening up, we outlined a plan for our COVID response to keep up with reality. We called for a shift from elimination to vigorous suppression, for vaccination targets, and for a sane border system that would let Kiwis come home for Christmas. We're confident the government will get there eventually. And we released Back in Business, a comprehensive economic plan which pushed the government into accepting the need for more support for businesses impacted by lockdown. They need to do much, much more, not least to get all of Aucklanders back to work. We also called for the government to set a date to end the lockdown and get rid of our internal borders once and for all. That date should be the 1st of December. But whatever date the government eventually chooses, they should do it now rather than continuing to dangle the prospect of travel by Christmas without any detail. Sometimes in opposition it's enough to simply point out the flaws in the government's approach, and we'll certainly continue to do that. But in the absence of anything resembling a well thought through plan coming out of the government across so many crucial issues over the last 18 months, it's been left to National to fill the void, to propose and to push this reactive government into taking action. So today we're releasing another plan which we hope the government adopts. It's called Back on Track, and it's National's education plan to make sure our children are given the chance to catch up for the months of class time that they've lost because Labor dropped the ball in the so-called year of the vaccine. Because while teachers, schools, parents and students have all done an amazing job making learning from home work as well as they possibly could in the circumstances, we all know it's no substitute for actually being at school. But as this lockdown drags on, most students in Auckland have now been kept out of the classroom for more than 12 weeks, more than a full term, and they shouldn't have had to be there. The whole country did the hard work of eliminating COVID last year, so they didn't have to miss any more school time. And the country bought this government time to prepare, a luxury most others didn't have. Time to invest in our COVID defences, time to vaccinate our people at pace, time to increase hospital capacity, to invest in contact tracing, booster shots, COVID treatments. Time to make sure our children didn't miss one more day of school. And this government wasted that time. They squandered the hard work and effort of millions of New Zealanders. They patted themselves on the back for 18 months and they left us as sitting ducks for Delta. By fewer than 20% of New Zealanders were fully vaccinated when Delta escaped from MIQ, and that's why Auckland is still locked down. That's why children are still missing out on crucial class time and why they've had significant milestones taken away from them. Representing their school in sport, performing in kapahaka or a school play, playing the school band, being recognised at prize giving, attending their school ball. All of these moments can't be recovered. But with the right actions over the next 12 months, with the right focus and effort, with the right priorities and support, we can limit the damage that lockdown has done to their education. We can reverse the harm lockdown has had on our children's learning. And we can make sure our students are given the opportunity to succeed. We can help these kids catch up. And we must, because your children deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Right now I'm gonna play. It is it is Street Girls by Rick Allen, right?
I don't know about you, you. There's something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets. I don't know about you, you. There's something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets.
What a way to drop a bombshell, baby. Guess you really didn't think I'd find out. In the silence, crying. I'm on the side with the lights out. Know that you feel it, know that you feel it, Fuck you in my heart and head. Falling out of love again. Falling on my blood in bed. Falling out of love again.
Spend a very, very long night sipping with my girl, sipping wine like I don't know about you. There's something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets. I don't know about you. There's something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets.
Take a mugshot, baby. What you doing? Tell me, coming on out here. On my knees, I'm praying. In the room on the floor with the lights down. Clothes in the kitchen, I'ma light it and leave it for you.
Fuck you in my heart and head. Falling out of love again. Falling on my blood in bed. Falling out of love again. It's been a very, very long night sitting with my girl, sipping wine like I don't know about you. Something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets. I don't know about you. There's something in his eyes, he's keeping secrets.
Farrell Seagulls, Erica and Ray on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Um. After series of historic runs in U.S. last week, Asian Americans will now serve as mayors and city council members in large cities including Boston, Seattle, Cincinnati, and New York, signaling the rapid rise in Asian American political power. The federation will mark a significant step towards a diverse community has seen historically low representation in political offices, and last 2 years been born of a rising tide pandemic-driven anti-Asian sentiments. On Tuesday night, voters chose Boston City Council Michelle Wu to serve the city's top political office. The 36-year-old Taiwanese American who was Boston's first Asian American city councillor will serve as city's first mayor of colour. Growing up, I never thought to be or could be involved in politics. I didn't see anyone who looked me in spaces of power with defined relationship looks like, we told reporters. In Cincinnati, a tough paper made history by defeating former Democratic Congressman David Mann, a 39-year-old first Asian American to hold a mayoral post. The son of Tibetan mother and Indian father, people are treated across in Cincinnati as a place where no matter what you look like, where you're from, how much money you have, if you come here to work hard, you can achieve your dreams. Meanwhile, Seattle Bruce Hales, who is 69 years old, he is of mixed heritage, is approaching to become a city's first Asian American mayor and a second black mayor. In New York City, 5 Asian Americans were elected to a city council, for most council have ever had, for a record-breaking first Korean Americans, first South Asian Americans, and first Muslim woman to be elected to the council. Traditionally, Asian American and Pacific Island mayors have elected places with significant Asian demographics such as California and Hawaii. However, race over anti-Asian racism seems to have prompted a significant portion of Asian Americans become more involved in politics. More than 9,000 anti-Asian incidents have been reported in the US since the pandemic began. What's different about the mayoral election to what I said office to one at a level requires forming a full coalition of support that seriously cross the racial boundaries, said Sarah Sadwani, assistant professor of politics at Pohana College, specialized in American and ethnic politics. That discrimination that the AAPI said faced throughout the last 2 years had galvanized them politically. Said when they started a spike of anti-AAPI hate as a key factor for increased political participation, saying the discrimination that AAPI has faced throughout the last 2 years during the pandemic has been galvanizing politically, and we're seeing that in the terms of people who are choosing to run for office, as well as voters on the ground. When Asian Americans feel socially excluded or discriminated against, it typically does lead to greater political activism. The AAPI population is ethnically and linguistically, culturally diverse, but underrepresented in elected offices. AAPIs make up 6.1% of the national population, yet they consist of just 0.9% of elected leaders of the country, according to the Reflective Democracy campaign. As one of the fastest growing democracies in the country, AAPI also suffer from severe instability and criminal justice system. Southeast Asian Americans are at least 3 times more likely to be deported due to past criminal convictions than other immigrants. Of the 2005 and now prosecutors that were elected across the country, In 2020, only 6 were AAPI heritage was 0.24%. AAPI was a makeup only 0.7 of county sheriffs. In March, after the 21-year-old white man was killed, 6 Asian women and 2 others in the Atlanta area, many Asian American communities sought greater political recognition while vowing to stand against hate. Raymond Patron for National Fair Director of AAPI vote, a non-partisan organisation dedicated to promoting civic engagement across AAPI communities, focused intensely on hear winners of rallies after the deadly shootings. I think we're going to community organising space for around last 10 years or so. I've never had so much interest among AAPIs involved themselves in the decision-making progress. They have an every level of a government is truly inspiring, said Parlin. The AAPI Victory Fund CVP that mobilises and AAPI voters and candidates endorse Wu, Perville and Varan Nukoi. For organisations present attributed victories as a ripple effect emerged through local community building efforts, getting to know your communities at local level and jurors. More long-term successes are forced to discuss kitchen and table issues to provide a roadmap community going forward. The court said, yet despite a celebrated attitudes towards historic when some remain apprehensive towards their potential taking those soldiers, fearing that traditional stereotypes may pigeonhole in the coming leaders. I think a heavy focus of Wu being held as the first female mayor of Boston, Jersey, held the greater sense than any other white man. People would be looking to her to fail rather than try to see what can chances said Yasmin Pandemic's fourth executive director of Congress of Massachusetts Asian American Commission. As a result, Forbes urged people to look what leaders like Wu and Percival can bring to their cities if they are like according how much achieve along their platforms. When neither have elected officials share our racial background, it is important to hold us accountable, said Patron Hersey, echo Forbes sentiments. People don't get free pass in public office just because they have racial background. We have to show that we lead people that share values that once they are in public office, we encourage them to move policies that are beneficial for everyone. Nevertheless, these victories with Sheldopedia for a major step forward to inclusive representation across the country. We need thousands of Asians, Americans and Pacific Islanders to run for local office that we future pipeline in the statewide office and then a federal office in this country's in the court. Next song I will be playing is It will be from 1990. So this is from I'm gonna play this track from 1982 is Don't Go by Yasu on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Mm-hmm.
With your loving shoulder and tell me, hey, go get a doctor.
was done go by Yazoo on Sheldopedia on our FM. Mm. 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 I've got to tell you, the most evenly diverse countries of the world.
Ebooks, Tao Beamer film, movies, documentaries, and
Gotta tell you, from the top 10 most diverse countries in the world. Monthly Cyprus was 0.09, Mammon Antigua, Barbados 0.09, Mammon Antigua 0.09. 7 Austria was 0.1, Netherlands was 0.11. Month 6 Samoa was 0.11. Month Samoa was 0.11. Month 3 Finland was 0.11. Number 2 Armenia was 0.12, and number 1 Bosnia here goes to fear was 0.112. Right now it is from 2005, which is it is Dead by Gorillas.
He's coming up, 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 he's coming up. It's there. It's there.
It was David Grellis on Sheldopedia on RAFM. Fat. It was their first number one single in the UK for that group and top 10 hit here in New Zealand. and Grellis will achieve more stardom throughout the next decade with the albums continue to chart very well. Right, the next song I will be. Right, I'm gonna tell you the fact of the day. The fact of the day is. And it's going to be a very Kiwi one this time. New Zealand is part of a Zealandia continent of which 93% is submerged, and only 0% of Zealandia land remains left, including New Zealand and New Caledonia. And the final song of the day is. It is Medusa and Hosea. Tell it to my heart.
I can work you out. Are you thinking about something better? Holding on to you while you drag me through stormy weather. The only time you smile is in the photographs, and when I pull you close, just like you're holding back, before we turn to strangers trying to love in the dark. Tell it to my heart, 'cause I can't keep guessing if it's me you're missing. Tell it to my heart, 'cause the sound is silence is the place we're dying. Tell it to my heart, tell it to my heart, tell it to my heart, 'cause I can't keep guessing if it's me you're missing. Tell it to my heart, 'cause the sound is silence is the place we're dying. Tell it to my heart. Before a light goes out, come and tell me now if something's fading, 'cause I can feel it in every single thing that you're not seeing. You move close to me, but I can feel a space. Whatever time we have, I'm not gonna waste, before we turn to strangers trying to love in the dark. Tell it to my heart, 'cause I can't keep guessing if it's me you're missing. Tell it to my heart, 'cause the sound is silence. Tell it to my heart, tell it to my heart, tell it to my heart, 'cause I can't keep guessing if it's me you're missing. Tell it to my heart, 'cause the sound is silence is the place we're dying. Tell it to my heart.
Tell it to my heart by Medusa and Hosea on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. There's an opinion can tell you Thatcher's and Ardern's popularity has begun to wane a bit and losing a mojo than it did last year when it elected to the landslide victory, causing causing 15 national houses, including one of the strongholds, include Yotek, East Coast, Whangarei, and Rangitata, and Northland ended up flipping to red. Shooters are doing probably in a COVID-19 threat that would save so many lives, but reservoir for Jazada's massive surge that caused National to pull very low, not seen since the early 2000s, leading to a second worst defeat in history. Only 2002 elections were disastrous, where National only won 27 seats. That's terrible. Least I'm not a National Party supporter, because National Party is aimed for the business people, farmers and provisions, which tended to be more higher income than Labour, which shows a model where better to working classes, and going for a few ways since the 80s, since Labour gone right wing during the longer years. If National wants to win again at the next election, it will have to lead a new leader to if she resigns or get ousted. That's not a problem. I reckon I got a fear that National could win again in 2023 to make up his losses at elections last year. Last year. So, there's that, and I'll see you next Wednesday by 2 p.m. Next Wednesdays. I will see you back here this time. I'll discuss about schools reopening and something like that. Bye bye.